Previously on D&D Kinda.
She curved her arm and lowered what she was carrying in both hands to one, revealing the body of a small child.
I spent days searching for the child of the dwarven woman, but the creatures found him first. That child was the last blood of the demigoddess Selene.
Bartholonude's mind was flushed with his memories of the torture he endured. He turned, lifted his halberd, and planted it into the head of the dragon, and as he did, the blood from Bartholonude's wound wisped off the edges of his clenched fist and fell into the pool of blood surrounding him. Francis looked at Bartholonude.
What have you done? The seal is broken.
As she spoke, a blinding flash of light struck the ground. There was a portal that hovered next to Francis. In an instant, the portal opened. A large man in a purple robe leaned through and wrapped his arm around Francis's neck. And with that, he fell back into the portal, and he and Francis were gone. Chrysalix turns towards you and says, "You must go." And then you see them run into the room and start to yell and scream at Chrysalix. As they pass, you see something. They're wearing somewhat of a necklace, and it has a giant purple gemstone in it. And on this gemstone is a silhouette of a head of a male and has a giant golden lightning bolt all the way across the chest piece. So the hallway comes to an end as you guys all filter in behind Scar, and you guys are in a massive open room. The floor is a red and orange sandstone with a massive open arena floor that is pure sand. And along the edges of the top of the stairs are 9 inlets. Scar sits down at the table as you guys are standing at the entryway of the room.
I'm curious as to, I mean, you said there's 9 tables, like 9 inlets?
Yes.
I'm more curious about what these are than, especially because I don't really trust him. I kind of want to, just go up to the first one on my left, I guess, if you want to, play it that way.
No, that's
and just kind of just look around. I'm not going to just follow him and be like, oh, we're in this new place. Hey, let's just follow this dude. I want to kind of investigate where we're at, because it's kind of, it's different than any place we've really been.
Absolutely, yeah. This is way different.
There's glowing lights flying above us. It's almost like, how big would you say this arena is? Is it almost like kind of like a small room, or is it big?
It's large. I would liken it to a small coliseum.
Small coliseum. That's kind of what I had actually pictured in my head. So yeah, I'm not going to go just follow him over there. I'd just like to go off to my left, just kind of.
So I'm going to go with Benedict and Hamilton here. Bartholonude, what are you doing?
I'll walk over and stand near the table.
With Benedict and Hamilton?
Mm-hmm.
So as you guys get close to the table, you guys are hit with a horrid, pungent odor. And you guys immediately see something you were not expecting. On the table, resting in front of Scar, there is a body. And this body is the body of the dwarven woman who slit her throat in the very beginning.
Scar, what is this place? What are you showing us? Why is she down here?
He looks up at you. You hear another voice step out from behind the curtain in the top right hand of the room. And beside this voice, you hear patter of small footsteps that's running. And you
creeped out.
You all look over, and there is a light that is moving through the sand quickly, very quickly, leaving a trail behind it, and it moves through the air and leaps and hits Hamilton and knocks him to the ground. Hamilton, You look up and you immediately realize what is on top of you is a spirit, and it is the spirit of a dog. And it is immensely excited to see you.
Why have you done this to me?
And you can't feel it because it's a spirit, but the dog looks like it's licking you. And it's almost like there is something about this animal is like it's extremely excited to see you.
Like he knows me.
Not so much like that, just like he really likes you, and you're really small. So
Okay.
But behind the dog, there is another half-orc, and he says, "I am sure Francis told you of the demigoddess Selin that slew Baal in the final battle of the last age. The child that died, the child of this dwarven woman, was the last of her blood. We tried for days to revive the child, but it was too broken. It was too beaten. It was in pieces. There was nothing that could be done. But this woman we may be able to bring back and prevent a seal from being broken. The body of this dwarven woman could prevent Baal from returning." And as you guys turn back around, you see Scar is just flipping through various texts as he's sitting at the table with this just putrid smelling body. So what do you guys do?
Well, first off, I'm not over there.
Right.
So-
Do you want to go back to you real quick?
I mean, that's up to you.
So you, at the table, the first table that you walk up to, there are multiple drawings and a lot of books referencing the blending of bloods. And you notice that this table, the drawings on it, they're just kind of scattered, and the chair next to the table is kind of like tossed, and it's almost like this stuff has just not been touched in a few days.
So there's 9 inlets
Yes.
for the 9 seals of Baal. So I take a look around like the whole room and see that there's 9 of these places, and realize that this is a I'm not sure if this is a place where we can stop this, but I know that probably each of these tables and these inlets has something to do with each seal to keep Baal at bay. So that kind of resonates with me. So I immediately realize that like the table that I'm at is the one that we fucked up, essentially, with the dragon. That Bartholonude fucked up. But so I immediately go to the very next table because I've only seen one of the, that's the only one that I know of.
Okay, yeah. So you walk over to the next table, and again, various books and drawings and things of that nature. And you see something kind of familiar that you saw upstairs. There's a lot of information about the high forest on this table. And there's nothing that specifically calls out anything about like a seal or anything, but there's a lot of information about that.
Yeah. From my mindset, like I feel like each of these tables essentially has something to do with each seal.
Okay.
Like, individually. Yeah, so like, I mean, so there's nothing like around like on the table that would really tell me anything other than the fact that it's about the high forest.
Make an insight check for me.
14.
Okay. So, just hearkening back to something that that Chrysalix had told all of you guys before, as you're looking over this and you're seeing, You see this first table with information about the blending of the bloods, and then you see this next table with information about the High Forest. You remember that Scar had said that he was intimately acquainted with Francis and Chrysalix. And Chrysalix had specifically said that they did not have all the information, and they didn't know what all the seals were. So that being said, as you're seeing this, you see the High Forest stuff, you see the first one, then you see the first one being about the blending of the bloods, and then you know over here that there's this body. You don't know exactly what it is yet, but you're coming to this conclusion, but you don't exactly, seeing that there's no like defined, you kind of connect the dots that they're trying their best to put this information together, but they don't know.
Almost like they kind of know where each of these is going to take place.
Right.
Essentially.
Bartholonude, Hamilton, Benedict, what's going on with you guys? Hamilton's getting
Horny.
spirit puppy licked.
I thought he was going to get horny because of a dead person.
So we got a spirit puppy, a dead body that these guys are trying to revive. I want to ask this new guy,
How do you plan on reviving this woman?
So this new individual says, we're trying everything we can without Francis. This is almost a futile effort. And you could tell he's kind of like, he thinks it's kind of like a waste of time. Like, he's kind of done with this. As he says this, Scar throws his hands up and stands up and kind of pushes this guy backwards. And he's like, what do you think that we should do? You just want to waste time and stand around here and do nothing? Or we don't know where Francis is? I've been busting my ass reading these books, and what have you been doing playing with your... And he kind of like calms himself down, and he just sits back down in the chair and grabs the scrolls and just kind of like keeps reading. And this other individual just kind of turns around and just walks back where he was, which is down a hallway. It's kind of in one of the inlets. There is another door that leaves, and he just kind of walks down that hallway. So the way I'm trying to push this off on you guys is I just want to give the vibe here. You guys get the vibe that they are kind of scrambling because this whole operation is kind of run and maintained by Francis, and without her, they are just desolate. So they're just scrambling to try to do whatever they can, and you can tell there's a lot of tension, obviously, between these two individuals, and it seems to have been created by the fact that they don't know what to do without Francis here.
so my take on this is that our main objective, because none of us know what the fuck to do. Like, we don't know how to resurrect this woman. We don't know the significance of like this particular woman other than she's might have the blood of this goddess. We need to get Francis back for Pops. So I feel like that should be our main objective here.
Okay.
Like, we need, like, obviously we need Francis back is what they're basically trying to tell us, is that we got to get her back so we can have a chance of us actually being able to defend ourselves.
Okay. No, that's pretty fair assessment.
Well, I mean, I want to tell Scar, like,
It seems that our main objective is we should be trying to get Francis back. We need to figure out where Lokar is.
So Scar like whips around in his chair and says, where is Francis?
That's what I would like to figure out, yeah.
Who took her?
Our father, Lokar the Malevolent.
And he's just like,
Wait, you weren't aware of this?
wait, we knew Francis was missing, as we assumed that you all had, but how did you know she was gone? We didn't know you knew where she was Thanks for sharing this until now.
Guys, we gotta fuck this one up.
Well,
I might be a little bit late to tell you this, but our father, Lokar the Malevolent, took Francis following a battle with the dragon west of here. I think it was west. No, that would be the ocean.
West.
North of here, maybe. I'm not sure what direction it was. It was a direction away from this city, and we had a battle, and Lokar took Francis. That's how we got these keys.
Scar he's like pacing at this point. He stands up and he's like mentally racking his brain trying to figure out what you're saying. So he's aware of the fact that he's seen both Hamilton and Benedict fight Baal's followers, but never has the connection been made for him that those followers were also Lokar's followers, as we talked about earlier. Yeah. And it like hits him like a train, like the fact that that's your father. Yeah. And he just starts to get like angry, and he just punches the table like as hard as he can, and he screams, "Lokar!" And then when he does that, this other individual, this other half-orc, comes out back from the hallway, and he peeks around and he says, "What did you say?" And then he says, "These individuals, the small one and the dwarf, Lokar's offspring." And this other half-orc is like frantic almost, not like, I wouldn't say he's mad. Like he's starting to like put together the dots, and he like runs over and he just like slides in the sand. And he just starts in the sand. His hands are going crazy, and he is drawing something.
Oh shit.
Crazy symbols in the sand.
I like cross my legs on the chair, and I'm like watching this guy just like this. I'm like,
Oh fuck, what's he drawing?
Okay. Hamilton, Bartholonude, particularly Bartholonude, you've been very quiet this entire time.
I've been just studying kind of what's happening. I'm trying to be omnipresent or omni-aware, because Topher's been a little distant. He's been walking around and just kind of seeing what's happening, and really, because the relation between why Francis has gone missing, being the father of these two, I don't really have an active role right now. I'm more witnessing events perspire and trying to take them in.
Okay. Topher?
Well, I wanted to dispel light off of Hamilton to try to get his attention.
Okay.
I am now attentive to you. Yeah, so Hamilton stops glowing, looks around kind of confused, turns around and looks at Topher like, what's up?
I kind of just do the whole head thing, like, yo, come over here.
So Hamilton
kind of nod you over.
Hamilton comes over to Topher.
So I kind of kneel down close to Hamilton, and very softly I say, there are 9 seals that need to be broken before Baal can come back. Now, if you take a look around, there are 9 tables. Now, I just looked at this one over here, and it had a lot to do with the blending of bloods. Kind of like the dragon that we had just fought. Now, I feel like the one that I just looked at has something to do with the Forbidden Forest where Chrysalix found me. So, each of these tables has more than likely something to do with each of the seals. And in order for us to gain some knowledge into what we need to do, we should probably take a look at each of these tables and see what information it holds.
That seems like a smart idea.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying this amazing, questionably amazing episode of D&D Kinda.
Yeah, because we're not.
This is Michael, your DM that you've been listening to for probably the last few minutes already. Probably sick of my voice, but not as sick as you are of Hamilton, who's also here with us. We wanted to get together and I want to tell you about a couple things that we have going on here at the 13 Palm Trees side of the house.
I want you to know before you get started that it was physically painful for me to not try to interrupt you.
That was physically painful.
Yeah, he still ended up interrupting you. So.
It was
Let me interrupt
a staple
you.
of our recording.
Let me interrupt you to tell you how much I wanted to interrupt you just now.
I mean, like right when it started, I was just like, ha ha ha.
But first and foremost, we wanted to go out of our way to thank all the people who are listening to the show and also all the people who are donating to our Patreon. We have done a lot of stuff with the money you guys have given us. All the people who have donated have gotten lots of cool merchandise, stickers and T-shirts and rolling trays and hex chests and all the kind of stuff that we're giving away. So stay tuned for more because the longer you donate, the longer we're going to start giving them, or longer we're going to keep giving away cool stuff. So we've got a lot of cool stuff planned, so stay with us there, and we definitely appreciate all the money you guys have given us so far.
Please
We
don't
love you. We fucking love you.
leave. Except for you, Lily.
Actually, I love you the most.
Wow, you can't say that.
I did it.
But so for anyone that doesn't know, though, we do have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/DNDkinda. We got all kinds of awesome stuff we're giving away there. Every single person I know that has donated has said just how worthwhile it has been for them. $10 a month gets you T-shirts. $5 a month gets you tons. I think there's
Exclusive content.
there's like over 15 hours of content ready to go already on there.
Content.
Can you
Content.
add like one of those like rap horns on there? Like exclusive content.
Should I talk about the one shots that are going to be coming soon? That I'm going to be starting.
Maybe entice them,
Entice
Jed.
with the possibilities.
It's classified
them.
information.
So I, Jed, who voices Hamilton, if you don't know that, am planning one-shot campaigns that will follow famous movie series. So I'm planning some one-shots for the Star Wars movies. I think whenever we conclude that, we've talked about doing Lord of the Rings. But if you're interested in any particular movie series or television series being featured in the one-shot, for me, we could do
one shot.
We could do anything. We could do Game of Thrones. We could do Scrubs. We could do How I Met Your
SG-1.
That would be
Mother.
so cool.
Breaking
Stargate
Bad.
SG-1.
Breaking Bad. I mean, we could do anything. Sky's the
Jesse.
limit there. So that's something that I plan on working up here in the upcoming months and bringing to you.
Yep, and that is a exclusive part of our $10 tier. If you're on a $10 tier, not only do you get a T-shirt and you get our bonus content and you get all kinds of amazing stuff. In April, we gave away extra T-shirts for everyone on the $10 and above tiers. But if you're on that $10 tier, you actually get to come into the studio or Skype in if you're not around here, and we'll play those one shots with you, and we'll be able to get you in on whichever one of those movie campaigns that you'd like to jump in on. Moving right along, I do want to talk about a couple of the sponsors of our show. We wouldn't be here without them. Actually, we probably would. They just help us a little bit.
We would just be more poor.
We're self-sufficient, damn it. So as you all know, we all use skull splitter dice in our show. Those are the incredibly horrible rolls that we always have, but damn, they feel nice rolling them. So at least there's something good that comes
You
from
mean
it.
those are horrible rolls that we have? You have great rolls.
You have
Okay, let me rephrase. I have great
Anytime
rolls.
somebody uses your dice,
Go ahead and secretly purchase
They're good.
weighted dice.
Okay, but let's be real. How many of you guys have played one shots with me?
I don't know. You never come to mind.
I have.
Yeah,
The
and how many
wolves,
Probably
times
a
do
reason for that.
I have horrible rolls with these during the one shots?
The Wolves
Yeah, you're right.
campaign, Josh had great rolls with your dice.
yeah, I rolled like fucking
Yeah, that was
13
gross.
nat 20s or some shit.
I know.
I had to keep
it's amazing.
scratching out the health of the bosses and upping it because you were doing too well.
So
that boss.
they have like metal dice, plastic dice. They have coffee mugs and all kinds of like blankets, all kinds of stuff on the website that are all D&D related. If you get our website, 13palmtrees.com/D&D-kinda, we have a link on there. You don't save any money from going through us, but if you buy through there, it's the same price as going through their website. We get 15% of the proceeds. That would help us out tremendously. So another one of our sponsors, Elderwood Academy, we actually sell some of their product that's custom made for our show. We have rolling trays, we have hex chests, they have dice towers, which we're probably looking to coming soon. All kinds of completely custom, handmade, handcrafted Dungeons and Dragons tabletop gaming accessories. They are top of the line. They're a little pricey, but I mean, everyone that has put their hands on one you quickly realize why they're a little pricey.
Just touch it.
Yeah, rub it on your face.
Just put your skin on it.
And we actually have some of those products available on our store with our custom brandings on them. So if you don't want to order through the website and wait 8 weeks for them, then you can just get them on our website that have our branding on them, and they're the same price. What is it?
And wait 8 weeks for them.
Nope, we're not. Sorry, Devin Tanner, for your shirt that you ordered from Wasted. But anyway, yeah. So those are the sponsors of our show, and we appreciate those companies for helping us out. We appreciate you guys for listening, and feel free to check out that Patreon. Like I said, we have a ton of awesome stuff we're giving away, and if you want to get in on some one-shots, you want to create a character to be on the show, you want to work with me to help craft some story points, you really like what you're hearing, and you want to put your little spin on something, patreon.com/DNDkinda.
If you like it, then you should have put a spin on it.
And with that, we're going back to the episode. Thanks for ruining that, Benedict. So, Bartholonude, I know that you kind of mentioned that you're kind of in a ingest state right now. You're trying to take all this in. But I do kind of want to gauge how your character is feeling about this entire situation. You've been relatively quiet ever since Vicewine really left. I mean, there hasn't been a lot of input from you. So, Vicewine leaves. You guys follow this individual from the bar to this house. You see this body harkens back to something that both you and Topher were pretty intimately involved with this dwarven woman that cut her own throat on the nobleman's staircase of the keep. And I just kind of want to get a gauge for, especially after you were, the entire first arc of this, the last few days have been focused around Bartholonude's past and his present, and just kind of like a massive gut punch. Everything just kind of happened all at one time, and it was a lot that took place. So I just kind of want to get a gauge for how your character is dealing with that shift, and yet everything is still so heavily focused on the outcome of the battle with the dragon and the seal breaking. So I kind of wanted to get a gauge for how Bartholonude is dealing with everything that's happening.
His disposition isn't exactly concerning. He just seems kind of solemn. He's primarily, like you said, a lot has happened. And he's primarily, pretty content and good with the moment. Kind of just taking everything in, like you said, ingestive. There's really not much else to tell.
Okay, and as just one final question on that, as I'm just trying to invoke some kind of thought out of you here. What exactly is the reason for ingestion? Is it just because he doesn't have a metaphorical dog in the fight at the moment? Or is it that you are legitimately trying to figure out what the next play is?
Could be a combination of the fact that regardless of all of his deliberate actions throughout the past few days, even through mostly careful actions to try to collect the right bits of information that would help uncover truths that would influence our decision making. But now we're at a point in time when I don't think that we're going to know. So I'm really right now, I'm just trying to not think, because thinking in the past has yielded no benefit for us.
So, Hamilton, you are just kind of finishing up your conversation with Topher, I'm gonna go back to Benedict. So you just kind of plop your ass down on the ground and you're watching this guy just kind of go crazy
he's like
in the sand
frantically
here.
fucking drawing something in the sand. I want to see what he's drawing.
So,
well, while he's doing that, I want to ask Scar. I'd be like,
We need any information that you guys have on Lokar. We have to find Francis.
So, Scar is also kind of curious as to what this other individual is doing.
Yeah.
And as he's sitting there watching, he says, as you know, Lokar is a powerful entity. One of the most powerful things that we've seen come from this age. And it doesn't appear that he exists here.
He doesn't.
Then why is he able to manifest himself in such a way?
That is a good question.
In which
Can I hear this conversation?
I would imagine you'd be able to hear them talking, not necessarily unless you're specifically tuning in to what they're saying.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming like this is like we're in this room,
you
but
can kind of overhear it as they're like,
Yeah,
overhearing
yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah.
So I just want to, like, as Topher, I just want to say, we've seen him use some sort of portal device. He's coming through using portals, but it does not seem that he is powerful enough to manifest himself physically in our world yet. So it seems as if he's coming from another plane of existence briefly, but he's not powerful enough to fully manifest.
Not powerful enough to manifest himself on this plane of existence, but powerful enough to mask himself from Francis. To take her.
I don't
It just seems so odd.
That happened very quickly. Francis was helping us, and she was, we were all taken aback. None of us realized what had happened until it happened. I don't think that is something that Francis could have foreseen.
The only thing that we know of Lokar is of his power and his followers. They are still relatively dispersed across Faerun, but I don't think his followers are growing. It almost seems as if they are disappearing.
Yeah, me and Hamilton definitely might have something to do with that. But I'm thinking that Francis knew something about Lokar, and that's why she was taken. The scrolls in her room. Do you know of any information pertaining to Lokar?
So Scar starts to talk and he says, no, and this other individual speaks up and he turns around, says, Scar is not the individual you should be speaking to.
Yeah, I was gonna speak to you, but I was gonna see what you're drawing first. You seem really excited about the sand.
In regards to Lokar. And he steps aside, and on the ground, there is a massive dirt sculpture of Topher. Only you recognize it. It is a massive circular drawing. And it has the silhouette of a man with a lightning bolt that is on top of that, and you recognize it from when you first woke up on the neck of the orcs that were chasing down Chrysalix in the tower where you first awoke.
Like off of their necklaces?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to walk over there just while, I'm walking kind of slowly looking at this symbol that he's drawn. I'm going to walk through it. As I'm looking at this, I want to like kind of round and go next to him. Where have you seen this? What prompted you to make this?
This is the symbol of Lokar. If you want to find him, I can take you to him.
I'm sorry. Yeah, let's do that.
That has been my assignment. I can't take you to him, but he does reside in another plane of existence. The plane he was banished to. The spell he put upon himself.
Wait. I thought
Himself?
our moms did that.
I don't know of any what you speak of. Is there history here that I'm unaware of? There are still many holes in our theories. If you know something, please inform us.
Our mothers teamed up together and banished Lokar to another realm to protect us. Or at least that's what we had been told.
So he kind of stops and is processing for a few moments. And you guys don't get the vibe, or at least I don't want to tell you what you guys are thinking, but he's kind of ingesting what this is the first time he's hearing this information.
Yeah.
And from his perspective, what he thought he knew his character legitimately believed that Lokar sealed himself there to protect himself. Yeah. As in, if he was going to keep existing, this is where it would have to be. So hearing this side of the story actually that kind of
makes sense.
Right. It resonates with him pretty strongly.
Yeah, okay.
So as this conversation is happening, Scar kind of runs off to the right side of the room and into one of the inlets, and he starts furiously digging through papers at this table off the far right side of the room. And you see him stop and then read over something and then pick up another piece of paper and look over it and then put it down and then shuffle through these stacks of papers and lift something else up and read it. And he looks back and yells to this other half-orc, who still also remains nameless, and says, "This fills in so many gaps, but it still does not answer one question. It seems as if Lokar, if this spell, if what you're saying is true, Lokar should not be able to come back. Lokar should not be able to return. This answers so many questions, but it leaves a larger question still."
I'd like to walk over to where he's at and say, just because he's been able to manifest himself does not mean that he's able to return to this plane of existence. Everything that we have said is just speculation, except for the fact that we have seen him come through portals. So there's a possibility that he is going to be able to return to full strength to come through and exist in this plane, but that does not mean that it is true.
Perhaps to speculate further, in light of recent news, we now know that our father is a follower of Baal. And it is likely that he draws his energy from Baal the same way that I draw mine from Cthulhu. So perhaps the breaking of the seals has allowed him to regain some of his strength.
Yes. The first seal. He did not appear until after that was broken.
Well, and now we know that was not the first seal.
We do not know that that was the first time that he has manifested himself. It may be the first time he manifested himself around any of us. Just because after the first seal had broken and he manifested himself then does not mean that that was the very first time.
The other half-orc has been back on his knees, and he is now restructuring his drawing on the ground.
What's Scar doing right now?
The Scar is still over at the table, just kind of, he's just kind of standing, and he's got his back to the table, and he's kind of at a loss.
So I want to open a dialogue with Scar, and I want to just kind of ask him, what is Francis's role? What does she do?
So Scar says that it's difficult to explain, but it is hard being friends with Francis. There's not an individual in Faerun that is more closed off or is sometimes repulsive to be around than her. But I can assure you that her entire purpose is to stop Baal's return. There's some reason, something she's tied to that holds her to this seemingly impossible task, but Francis cares deeply for this world for a reason I don't know. somehow she has found herself a way to bind her, caring to each of the four of you. For you all have a role to play in this, but she has not unveiled to me as to what. She is the orchestrator of this. Her insight and her power have lent ways to us finding this ancient texts and ancient things that have happened hundreds and thousands of years ago that have alluded to us finding the things out that we have. The demigoddess Selin, this body. We have to finding you all. It seems as if Frances has knowledge of things hundreds of years in the past. We just don't know where she's pulling this from, but her role in this is pivotal.
So, this room, where you're doing your research on what is going on, how much do you know about these 9 tables, these 9 inlets, and what is going on at each of those tables? Have you done your research on each of those?
It is, as you know, ancient history that there are 9 seals that have locked Ball away.
Yes.
To our knowledge, none of those 9 things intertwine in any way. So this is just our way of trying to segment out how we can find each one of these. Some of these tables are just purely speculative at this point. We know nothing about what some of these seals are.
So these tables, you have set up each of these tables?
Yes.
Because the one over here, and I point back to like my back left, the blending of the bloods, we fought and killed the Golden Clan Elder who had transformed himself into the Great White Dragon, who was using his knowledge of magics to blend the Dragonborn blood to create the ultimate Dragonborn. And before Francis was taken by Lokar, when Bartholonude was in a rage, killing the dragon, and cut himself, and his blood fell into the blood of this dragon. Bartholonude's blood was the last thing needed to complete that transformation and to break that seal. And as soon as that happened, Lokar showed up and took Francis. So it seems that it is a very, very good likelihood that you are on the right track with each of these. I have not looked at each of these, but this one I know, the blending of the bloods, is definitely correct. And it might seem that you are on the right track with, as these seals are breaking, Lokar's power gets greater.
So what you suggest is that Lokar, as Ball's power greatens, may be able to manifest himself on this world again?
I do not know if it was a coincidence or if it had something to do with the seal breaking that allowed him to come to this plane of existence, but I know that immediately after that seal was broken is whenever he manifested himself.
Okay. So as you were explaining this to Scar, this other half-orc is like furiously in the sand, like pushing sand outwards, and he has created an entirely new, and you have no idea what it is. It's still like but it's blended outside of the bounds of this circle, and there's all kinds of patterns in the sand that he's pushing, and he's not done yet, but you know that he is just furiously scrubbing this sand for some reason.
So can I ask Scar a question?
I mean, yeah.
Scar, does your friend here have a gift of foresight? Does he know things in his mind? Like what the symbol that he made in the sand earlier, we've seen before, I have seen before, of minions of Baal. Is he some kind of prophet?
So Scar looks back at you and says, upstairs, before you came in here, is what is known as an arcane gate. it seals this area beneath the ground. But if you were to dig into this ground beneath the house that you were in, you would not find this beneath its surface. This doesn't exist within the bounds of Earth. It exists within the bounds of the spell and the spell alone. This is why Francis's chambers are here. This information cannot fall into the wrong hands. And that key you have, that's why it was so pivotal that Francis provided it to you. Because only that key can open that arcane gate. This was crafted by Thrak, and he calls him by his name. He goes on to say, Thrak is an expert in crafting these arcane magics, solely for this purpose. And if he is crafting something on the floor, there is some kind of magical connotation or reason for what he's doing.
As their conversation is going
understand.
on, I want to walk towards Thrak. So
Benedict?
is Thrak, like, still shifting more things in the sand?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to put my hand on his shoulder. Just be like, just calm down a second.
So, Thrak isn't, he's not like frantic, like he's not like breathing heavy and like freaking out. He's
Oh, yeah, that's what I
he's
pictured.
like, he's just like, he's calmly doing things, but he's doing it very quickly.
Yeah, okay.
So, does that change your, I'm assuming you're not trying to get him to calm down then? Or you
No, I just want him to talk now. I just
Okay.
want to have a conversation with him. I want to find out what he knows about Lokar, because he said that I should be talking about him if I want to know about Lokar.
So, he stands up, and are all of you guys standing over here in this, to where you guys can all kind of hear what's going on?
I mean, I was like right next to. I mean, obviously, I was like.
Okay.
I walked over next to. Scar.
Yeah, I was near Scar. If
Okay,
within
and Scar's
earshot.
like right in that 5 foot like radius from where he's in the sand. Are you over there too, Hamilton?
Yep.
Okay, so Scar like stands up and turns around and looks at Thrak, and Thrak stands up as well and kind of like steps backwards, like stepping away from you all, and you guys look down. And you guys are all just kind of like standing there in a line, kind of around this thing that he's just drawn in the sand. And there is you guys see it. And it is kind of like a semicircle. And as your guys realize, Bartholonude, you become terrified. Because as you look at this, you realize the creature that he's just drawn on the ground here is the same creature that you saw that night in Neverwinter in the sky in front of the moon. This circular bodied beast with these massive tentacles coming off of its head and a grimacing smile as it looks down and looks up over top of you all.
Oh, shit. That's fucking weird. No, I'm kind of
As you guys look in the sand and see the drawing of this, and it is more real than what a sand drawing could bring to life.
Scar, tell me, what was it that you last know of Francis working on before her disappearance?
Francis was working at this table with the Dragonborn. That's why the chair is disheveled. She left in a hurry, left us behind. She didn't tell us where she was going, and next thing we know, we're here that she's been taken by Lokar. She was working on discovering the magics behind the blending of the dragon's bloods, and it appears she came to some sort of conclusion only to be too late.
I'm scared.
So Bartholonude, I'm imagining like you're standing there and you see this in the sand, and it just kind of like resonates from a few days past. And as that happens, that's kind of like when you ask the question. I'm imagining it was more like you see this and you're like, what was Francis working on? And like you're asking this out of shock from what you're seeing. And then Scar answers you. And then you notice that as he's answering you, he starts to step back as well. And all four of you are standing around this thing in the sand. And just when that happens, Thrak reaches down and punches the ground, and this massive portal opens up and swallows all four of you and sucks you inside of it. Bartholonude's eyes opened as the haze clouding his vision slowly dissipated. He lifted his head and spit the dirt that had crusted around his mouth as he found himself having been unconscious on the ground. Recalling what happened, and Scar shoving him and his companions through the portal, Bartholonude stood, but as he did, he found himself unbalanced and surrounded by a sinister, empty aura. As he felt his strangely feeble body lift him upright, he wasn't upright at all. Instead, the ground from which he lifted was above him, and he was standing upside down. As Bartholonude struggled to come to reality with such a phenomenon, he realized something else. The ground above him, on which he stood, was narrow, with very little room between where he lay and the ledge. As Bartholonude looked up and over the edge, his eyes gazed deep into a purple, endless pit. His eyes traveled in a semicircle around the precipice that engulfed his surroundings, and this dark chasm stood for miles in all directions, except for one. On a narrow, windy pathway, no more than a few feet across, connecting to where the bodies of Bartholonude's unconscious companions lie, was the start to this path. Thousands of feet, it carried Bartholonude's eyes off and into the distance where he saw it. There, striking claim to this desolate, empty space, planted from the same direction that Bartholonude was, a giant castle, encompassing the entirety of the inverted dark horizon. The castle exuded a strange purple light that shot into the empty air around it and died as it blended into nothingness. Bartholonude stepped forward as to get a better vantage point, and as he did, he accidentally stepped on one of his companions. He looked down, and his companion awoke suddenly and raised from the ground, and as he did, Bartholonude was speechless at what he saw, staring back at him, his own body. As he stared at this body in front of him for a moment, he became attuned to his own. His hands, human. His hair, long. His armor, small. And his equipment, heavy. He reached around and grabbed the shield and pulled it to his front, and sure enough, emblazoned on the front was a shimmering blue infinity symbol. Bartholonude was human. Bartholonude was in Topher's body.